All right, so good morning. And let's get started. We will start sitting in Sukhasana with the cross legs. Oh, and having a belt or strap today. And using those arms alongside, lengthening up, feeling space coming between the vertebrae, space in hip sockets. A little shifting around into those joints you want to do. Letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, lengthening up through the center line. Inhale and exhale. And with every breath, letting go of the rest of the day a little bit more. Letting go of whatever you're holding on to that you don't need for the next hour. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing down. Let's do that twice more. Oh, I lost count. Let's go once more. We must have done it twice more, but it didn't feel like it. And then we will twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale and twist. Every breath deepening gently into the twist. And back to the center. We'll twist to the left. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale and twist. Back to the center. And then remembering which leg is in front, sliding the legs out to Baddha Konasana, the feet together, knees out to the sides, really standing on those feet. Pulling the knees wide, holding onto the ankles or shins to lengthen up through the top of the head. And then coming forward, pressing down and a little bit out with the elbows. Breathing down into the center of the body, into the lower abdomen, into the sacrum. And exhale, pouring out through the inner thighs, out the knees. Out the outer thighs, out through the knees. And coming back up on top of those sitting bones, and then we will cross the other leg in front. Finding that long spine here, reaching out wide through the arms, and we'll side bend. Right arm coming up and over to the left. Doing a little twisting to the right, opening up that side bend a little more, pulling the right side back, we'll press forward from the left side. And lifting up long through the top of the head, other side. Inhale and exhale. And a little bit of twisting, pulling the left side back, a little pressing of the right forward. And coming up long through the top of the head. And then let's take those legs out into Konasana, the angle pose. And giving a little lift up from behind, big yawn down the inner legs. And landing on the sitting bones, hands on the legs, or maybe still behind to keep that long and spacious spine. And we will come forward. Inhaling into the center, exhale, pouring over. And so here too, we have both the inner thighs out, the inner heels extending out, and the outer. You can use the arms wherever you like, maybe on the legs or right in front of them, or reaching forward or pushing from behind. Inhaling into the center, exhale, pouring and then coming up, back up on top of those sitting bones. And let's bring the arms up overhead, interlocking the fingers, turning the palms up and pressing up to ground down. And then releasing the hands, bringing those legs in, and we will come up and downward facing dog. And then walking the dog or anything else you want to do. And then finishing up with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the and let's go through the vinyasa. And our vinyasa is going to finish in child's pose. So after your cobra or up dog, into child's pose as we come forward to the plank. And chaturanga, bending in the elbows, maybe not much bend, maybe using kneeling plank to kneeling chaturanga, upward facing dog, or the cobra, taking a couple breaths here in your back bending action, pulling the shoulders down. And then contract back a little cat back action, pulling back into child's pose. Inhale and exhale, big round breaths, really feeling the shape. And then coming up onto all fours. And we'll bring those legs right together, squeezing those inner knees into each other. And we are going to clamshell. So let's see here. Oh, you know what this is, but let me just turn here for a moment. All right, so I'll be the mirror for a second here. So when we do the clamshell, we are going to, oh, there we go, there's a good angle. We're going to keep our foot on the floor with the big toe and just hinge out. So it's not a great big movement with that big outer hip lift when you take the foot off the side, trying the other side. So what we end up doing is working into the outer rotator or outer rotation muscles deep in the hip joint. All right. So let's do that right leg 6 times with an inhale, pressing out, exhale, drawing down. And also don't let your left hip lean out to the side. Nice and steady through the rest of the body. Inhaling and exhaling. I think there are about 3 more. And then we'll extend the left leg back with the toes tucked under, not letting left leg back yet. So we're on our right leg. And then we're going to turn to the side. Don't let that right shin swivel. So we're essentially doing the clamshell action in the right hip, but by picking up the left hip bone. Keep those right toes pointing straight toward the back of the room. So pivot that more. So it's like Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon on the knee. And maybe you can lift that left leg up or maybe not. The balance can be really tricky here. All right, let's come back onto all fours. Expand up to downward facing dog. Deep breath through the vinyasa to child's pose again. Little lingering in the back bending parts. And then into child's pose. And coming up onto all fours. And we'll go on the left. So 6 clamshells on the left. As we inhale, pressing that outer left knee out. Exhale, drawing strong into the center. Try not to lean out to the right as you do this. In some ways, the smallness here is what is difficult. And about 3 more. All right, and then extending the right leg back with the toes tucked under, pressing back into the heel. So we're trying not to let that left shin move. And as we pivot, really holding on with the left gluteus maximus, pressing the tailbone toward the side wall. And if it's really hard to balance here, you're probably doing it correctly. A little like the half moon Ardha down here on our knee, or a version of a side plank. Maybe you can lift that right leg up. And then coming back onto all fours. We'll expand up to downward facing dog. And then once more vinyasa into the child's pose. Pressing the shoulders down, pulling them back, not reaching too much from under the chin. A little feeling of press back. It's the upper chest going forward. And then we're all in child's pose. Breathing in. And coming up and downward facing dog. You could put another vinyasa in here or not. I'm going to or not. And then let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And dog at the high fire. Can you find some of that work deep in the hip joint instead of just sort of flopping your leg over, engaging a little more. And then maybe 3 circles with the knee. If your wrists are starting to give out, just come through to the lunge sooner. Or else circling around. 3 times, or number of choice for you. And then we'll go through to the lunge. And bringing that left knee down. Coming up in the GentleVinyasa. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And a big reach down with the arms and stepping forward into the concave back, halfway up, folding over. Deep breath. And coming up to standing, big front body yawn. And then let's do the extra circle with the arms here. Lift a little more, carrying the arms around with the breath all the way back up. And then a nice strong namaste into the center, pulling the ribs and lower belly in and up. And coming over. Big inhale up and diving over. Concave back, halfway up, folding over, stepping back with the left leg, so we're in the right lunge. And we'll come up in the warrior two, turning that left foot to 90 degrees, up. And then feeling that right leg do that little bit of clamshell action, a little extra press out from the outer knee there. And side bending up with that right arm reaching back. And then let's bring our left hand up, turn the right palm to the ceiling. Give a little extra pull there. And letting that go, tilting into the triangle, straightening up that right leg, tilting over. Just where your triangle is at this moment. Couple more breaths here. And then coming down to the lunge, continuing back to downward facing dog through the vinyasa or not. And then we will do that around on the left. Let's lift our left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. Let's see if you can feel a little more into the outer rotation deep in the hip joint near the sitting bones. And then we'll circle that left knee 3 times, or however many you want to do. And then finishing with that, and into the lunge. Bringing the right knee down, coming up in GentleVinyasa. Big circle of breath. And bringing the arms down, stepping forward. into the concave back, halfway up, and folding over. Taking a few breaths here. So we can do bending, straightening the knees if you want, or any other little things, or maybe just breathing. Sometimes when we stop doing and just let our breath and body engage on its own, things happen. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn again. And we'll carry those arms around with a circle of breath. And pulling into Namaste, strong into the center. Inhale and exhale. And coming back over. Big lift up. And diving over. Concave back. Folding over, and we'll step back with the right leg and into the warrior number 2, the lateral lunge. And then checking that alignment once you arrive, and maybe finding a little extra press out from that left outer thigh. And dancing warrior, bringing the left arm. And then turning the left palm up, getting hold of that left wrist with the right hand. A little extra pull and pull into the lunge. And then the triangle, inhale and exhale. Everything radiating out, even though at the same time we're trying to go down and over. Couple more breaths here. And down to the lunge, stepping back to the plank. And let's do side plank. So let's go on to our right arm first. You keep the left foot on the floor in front of the right if you want. And then to the center. Side planking on the left. And back to the center. Let's pull back into child's pose. A little resistance with the arms, getting a nice deep press of the wrist joint, and then settling back. And coming forward into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows, pulling back with hands, reaching back through the legs. Maybe there's a little lift of the elbows, trying to pull back with the hands a little more. Calming down, forehead on hands. Inhaling and exhaling. And then let's expand up into downward facing dog. And through a vinyasa or not. Squeeze those elbows in and back. Downward facing dog again. And then walking the hands halfway back the mat into short downward facing dog or long forward bend. And then we're going to jump and shoot our legs through and come to sitting on the floor. Or not. So the alternate, which is what I'm going to do, is we take a little jump and then we'll sit down and do the big ending. Ta-da! All right, so let's get our belt there as we come down to the floor. And take a moment, getting extended on the floor, standing on the feet on the opposite wall. And we'll bend that right leg. Reaching along with the left. So trying to stay very active through the whole body. And then belt around the right foot, extending the right leg. And belt into the right hand, bringing that right leg out to the diagonal side. And then if you don't need that left arm to be doing something else, like maybe you're holding part of the belt, reaching that left arm out to the side from the shoulder. A little press down of the left shoulder and back of the arm, that can help counterbalance that right leg extending as well. Inhale and exhale, keep reaching through the left. And then here we are more or less in the Ardha Chandrasana half moon shape. If we were standing on our right leg and reaching up and open through the left side. Somewhere deep in that right hip joint is that little bit of clamshell action. That little bit more hold on with the gluteus maximus, but deeper inside with the piriformis and those other 4 or 5 little tiny muscles. And bringing that right leg back up to the center and then let's bend our left leg and take a few breaths, pulling the thigh into the chest, really extending long through the right leg, long through the top of the head. And belt around the left foot, extending that left leg up. Standing on the ceiling, standing on the opposite wall. And belt into the left hand. Bringing that left leg out to the diagonal side. Reaching through that right side. And then if you can, taking the right arm out to the side from the shoulder. So we have a big line from our right fingertips to our left heel. So it's like Ardha Chandrasana, the half moon. It's even a little like the triangle. If we were standing on our left leg or that left leg with the front leg. Maybe engaging a little more deeply in that left hip joint. And bringing that left leg back up to the center and down. Setting the belt aside, stretching the arms up overhead, maybe a little indulgence in there, just an ankle circling, squinging side to side. And rolling yourself back up to sitting, maybe using your legs of a mat for assistance or however you want to get up. And then we'll re-expand in our forward bend. Doesn't really matter where you are on the mat so much. Pulling the legs in, coming up onto those feet. While we're still, before you get up too far, if you want the block for doing the Ardha Chandrasana, just having it nearby there. As we expand back up into the forward bend. Inhaling and exhaling. And up to downward facing dog, up to standing, big front body yawn. Extra circle around with the arms. Namaste in front. All right, here we are, standing at the front of our mat now, coming up with your there. Inhale and exhale, Namaste, steadiness. And big swoop up with the arms, and coming forward.
Concave back halfway up, folding over, stepping back with the left leg into the lunge.
And coming up in the warrior number 2. Sure that right knee is tracking right over the right knee. Dancing warrior, bringing the right arm up. And then as we come over, we'll come up into Ardha Chandrasana, or you could do the triangle again. Shifting the weight forward, getting hold of that right gluteus maximus and so this is one of those places, if you can't feel all that more subtle stuff in that right hip, that clamshell action and all that, just squeeze your butt and pull that left hip bone. Just like when we were lying on the floor with our right leg in the belt. And then bending that right knee, floating the left leg back down to the floor. And coming back up in the warrior 2. Straightening up that right leg, turning the feet to parallel. Take a moment, reaching wide. Reaching up. And then bringing the arms down to interlock the fingers behind, rolling those shoulders out, lifting the chest. Don't lift the chin first. Lift the chest. Even maybe don't even lift that chin. How much lift can you get up the front of the body without taking the head back? And then letting the head. And coming forward, pressing out through the hands. And releasing the hands. Vasarita Padottanasana. And then turning back to our right lunge front of the mat. And we'll continue back to downward facing dog. Stepping to the plank through the vinyasa any version, downward facing dog. Really feeling this downward facing dog. Let's lift the right leg up. And bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. Try those 3 circles once again. Knee forward, side, up and over. And big inhale, exhale through to the lunge. Lengthen that out, top of the head off the left heel. And then stepping forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Folding over. And coming up to standing. Big front body yawn. Arms around and all the way back up. And strong into the taking a few breaths there. So for people who are here now, as it were, we're going to go a few minutes over. We got started a few minutes later. If you need to go early, that's fine. All right, so here we are. Big lift up. And diving over. Concave back, folding over, stepping back with the right leg. And warrior number 2 on the left leg, the other side. Dancing warrior. And then up to Ardha Chandrasana, or maybe using the triangle again, or some combination of both. Holding on with that left gluteus maximus as you come up. Building up that right hip bone, but not too much. Just like when you're lying on the floor with the left leg in the belt. And then bending that left leg and floating that right leg down. Coming up in the warrior 2. Straightening up the left leg, turning the feet to parallel, reaching wide, reaching up, and reaching wide and down and around to interlock the fingers, lengthening up the whole front of the body, maybe letting the head be the last thing to go. And coming forward and over, pressing out through the and releasing the hands. Breathing deeply. Journey to the left lunge, back to your front of the mat where you came from. Stepping back through the vinyasa. Downward facing dog. And lifting the left leg. Dog at the high fire hydrant. And 3 circles with that left. And lunging forward. Lengthen that lunge a couple breaths. Stepping forward into the concave back. And folding over, breathing. And then we'll just bend the knees and sitting down on the floor. That's a Andrasana. So let's see. I'll go back to being the mirror facing you. You bring the left leg down across the right over, or anything similar. You can be keeping the left leg straight. You can not cross the right foot over. Holding the legs in after all that expanding out. And then we'll twist to the right. Inhale and exhale. And if you want, taking the left arm over, and then try to really pull the left shoulder down, the left elbow down, long through the top of it. And back to the center, and we will switch sides. Take a few moments arriving on this side. And then we'll twist to the left. Inhale and exhale. And maybe taking that right arm across, doing your best not to end up squinching in. Lift through the top of the head, pull that right shoulder down, pull the elbow down. And coming back to the front. Disentangle those legs, coming down onto the floor. And we'll take a bridge pose. You can do any combination you want, maybe with the bridge pose on the block in there. So you want to come along with me for the combination. So you can either do all on the block or all regular bridge pose. But for doing the combination, let's lift up, sliding the block under the sacrum and sliding the legs out straight. And reaching through the legs, bringing the arms alongside, palms into the floor. So we're getting a little setup for the bridge pose arms as well here. Inhaling up into the lower belly, exhale, pouring down through the heels into the floor. lifting up through the upper chest. And then we will bend the knees. You can just keep the block there. If it seems in the way of your arms, you can move it out of the way. And then lifting up in the bridge pose. Maybe interlocking the fingers underneath. And rolling back down. If that block is still there and you want to land on it and straighten the legs out on the block, go ahead. Maybe land all the way on the floor. And if we're all the way on the floor, we can just slide the legs out and we're in Shavasana. If there's anything else you want to do, doing that. If you're on the block, taking another breath or two and then making your way off the block. And whatever you need to do. And then we will make our way to Shavasana. Inhale and exhale, melting into the floor. And then breathing back into your body. Moving the fingers and toes, circling the wrists and ankles. Stretching the arms up overhead. And bend the knees. And gently making your way up to sitting. Sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.